Hi, I'm Tiffani Faison, the chef and owner of Tiger Mama and Sweet Cheeks in Boston. We're here doing a workshop today for Plenty, 11 Spoonfuls Culinary Nutrition Program. We're going to do a really cool demonstration, stove-free cooking. From time to time, we all find ourselves, whether we're a student in a dorm or in a situation where we don't necessarily have all of the cooking capabilities in the world, so we don't have a stove. We can make really great, nutritional, easy meals out of simply using a microwave. So we're going to walk through a couple recipes, really simple meatloaf, and a really great way of cooking veggies. We're going to start with the meatloaf. So this is just about 1.5 pounds of ground beef. If you're just using a little bit of Italian seasoning, you can easily get this at just a packet at the grocery, no problem. We're really looking at dried oregano, a little bit of basil, there's some garlic powder and some onion powder in here. It's all done for you. I would say a really generous tablespoon for this for about 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Crack 1 egg into this, a little bit of salt in here. We're just mixing this up and making sure it's really combined with the egg and the meat. So you can see that it's, I don't want to use the word slimy, but it's a little bit slimy right now. So we don't want that slime, we want something else to absorb the egg and the meat. The meat will also give off a lot of moisture as it's being cooked in the microwave. So traditionally with meatloaf, we started thinking about adding a panade, and that's like a fancy way of saying bread soaked in like milk and a little bit of garlic. But as you know, we all think about being a little bit more calorie conscious and how to get the most in terms of nutritional content. We start thinking about maybe removing bread from some things that we traditionally use it for. We'll add a little bit, like half of what we normally would. Why don't we talk about vegetable substitutes? Because really, if we're looking for moisture and flavor, zucchini provides both of those things. Let's go ahead and just grate some of the zucchini into our mix. So we're going to add this to our mix. We're not going to see much of a difference in terms of actual moisture. We're getting the same moisture content that we want, just in a totally different way. So you can see how that's all mixing together. Ultimately, you just want it really well combined. You don't want to kind of over mix it. We're going to add a little bit of our bread. So that's about half a piece of bread. And to this, I'm going to add just a little bit more salt, compensating for the vegetables that we've added and the bread. So that's kind of as combined as we want it. You still want it a little bit loose. So we've completed our meatloaf mixture, which again is our ground beef, our Italian seasoning, a little bit of salt, a little bit of bread, egg, and zucchini. Here's another hack, right? So to-go containers are everywhere, and just make sure that they're the right plastic. This can be a great lunch container. Also, this is now your vessel for cooking your meatloaf. So we're going to take about half of this and put it into our to-go container. It's also important not to put too much in the container. You do want it to cook in a reasonable amount of time, so think about volume. The more you put in it at one time, the longer it's going to take to cook. All right. So we're patting that down just a little bit, but we're not like covering it to the brim. So our next move is making sure that we get great sauce on this. I mean, when you were a kid, what's the most craveable thing about meatloaf? That really great ketchup layer on top. So again, we're looking to remove a little bit of the sugar and the just general carbohydrate. This is just pasta sauce. So you can take a little bit, and also fairly easily accessible, pretty easy to get at the store. Okay, so we're just gonna spread that on top. So we're gonna pop this guy in the microwave. Couple tips on putting in the microwave. This is not a one-shot Charlie, right? So you don't just put it in here, leave it for 6 minutes and go watch TV. You wanna make sure that you're checking it every minute or so, because what happens as it cooks, moisture starts to leach, things start to pop, sugar starts to caramelize. So if you come back in 6 minutes, this is going to look like a Jackson Pollock painting, okay? That's not what we're looking for. So just make sure, put it in, let's give it a minute. Don't worry about time and temperature, just a minute. All right, time to check it. So it's a minute in, not a whole lot going on here. We just want to make sure that it's not popping and going everywhere. So we're going to get a little confidence, put this in for 2 minutes, and then check it then. Our 2 minutes is up, so we're 3 minutes in total. It's looking pretty good. It's definitely got a little bit of juiciness around it. That's the zucchini. That's also the meat continuing to cook. So we're going to put it in. I'd say at this point, it's pulled away from the sides a little bit, and it's looking like it's forming into a meatloaf. Give it 1 more minute. Let's put that in. While that's cooking, we're going to start talking about our vegetables. So again, in the microwave, pretty easy. We're taking green beans or haricot vert, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of really beautiful beans that are at markets right now. If you just want to grab them, a pound, less than a pound, these stay really great. So we're going to take these beans and throw them in our little Ziploc container. So, I don't know, a handful, or we could put them all in. So a little bit of salt in here. I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil and pour it in. This could also be butter if you want it to be butter. But again, in keeping with trying to treat ourselves a little bit better, olive oil, okay? So I'm gonna add tomatoes to these in a second, but I'm gonna get the beans cooking because it's gonna take a lot less time for the tomatoes to cook. We just want those to leach a little bit and create a little bit of sauce and sweetness for the beans, all right? So beans, zip it up. Let's check on our meatloaf. So our meatloaf is pretty done. There's a good amount of liquid around it, and that's completely fine. You can drain out a little bit, or you can also keep that and just make sure that you work it in. So we're gonna put this to the side for now and focus on our vegetables. Again, we're talking about our beans. So we have our beans in the bag. We're gonna just zip up that bag. The air, the fat, and the moisture of the beans, that's what's gonna make this cook and cook really, really well. Again, I'm gonna start at 1 minute for this and let it go. You wanna take it out. We're gonna remove some of this steam. Be careful, because it's hot. But we wanna just kind of get that bag down a little bit. All right, to that, we're gonna add some of our tomatoes. So we're just gonna keep that bag open and cut a few tomatoes. So this is gonna add a little bit of sweetness, also a little bit of acid, and create almost like a saucy green bean, right? So it's kind of an elegant side dish made in a plastic bag. We're gonna add a little bit more salt. It's pretty important that you do add salt along the way. We're gonna zip it back up. We had a minute before. I'm gonna say about 30 seconds for this, because really all we're looking to do is heat our tomatoes through and create a little bit of sauciness, and the beans are fairly well cooked already. We're gonna look at our beans and tomatoes, see what we got. You can tell that it's starting to cook a little bit, but it's not as saucy as I wanted. Another 30 seconds, we'll see how it goes. Let's put it on a plate. Let's make some dinner. We have our meatloaf ready to go, fully cooked. There's a little bit of sauce left in the bottom, no problem. Take that and just give it a little bit more moisture on top, which is nice, all right? We're gonna finish with our beans. And tomatoes. All right, so we've got our meatloaf, we've got our beautiful tomatoes and our beans. Truth be told, it's a pretty elegant little meal coming out of a microwave from a to-go container in a bag. So this is dinner. Enjoy. So thanks for hanging out with me during our no stove cooking demo. Obviously this is meatloaf and veggies, but if you think about cooking in this way, it can be a lot of things. It can be turkey meatloaf, it can be meatballs. You can cook your scrambled eggs in the microwave. So don't feel limited. If you don't have a stovetop and you do have a microwave, think about the resources that you do have. There's incredible things that can be done in just one simple way of cooking. To learn more about what we do and why we do it, go to loveandspoonfulsinc.org.